Nope, I'm dead.
What's up, guys? It's the Master of Disaster, your man Comet Smasher. Today, we're going to be slogging through the jungles of Yeisha in my review of the Remnant 2 Forgotten Kingdom DLC. Now, before anyone says anything, yes, this review is pretty late. I've been pretty busy and it slipped my mind. But no more excuses. It's time to get to business. Since the release of Remnant from the Ashes, Yeisha has been one of the most beautiful and mysterious worlds our characters have traversed. With winding rocky crags, deep jungles, and musty ruins, painted with the murals of Yeisha's past. Previously, Yeisha had no special DLC associated with it, yet out of all the other worlds, Yeisha deserved the DLC treatment the most, and Gunfire Games has delivered. Mostly. The story of the Forgotten Kingdom places our character in a lost corner of Yeisha, once inhabited by a tribe, thought lost by the pan of the base game. As per the description of the DLC, we're roped into a complicated and sordid conflict, involving the lost tribe and the goddess believed to have aided them, Lydusa. The overall experience of the Forgotten Kingdom that I had was mixed, but mostly positive. Yeisha's beautiful world design and ambiance are still a delight to the senses. The tension of not knowing foes from plant life is still unnerving and delivers morbidly hilarious jump scares when you're least expecting it. And the story itself is very deep and delves into the philosophical and moral aspects of politics and religion, and the age-old question of, do the ends justify the means? However, though my experience is mostly positive, I have a few issues that need to be addressed. But first, based on the analytics, it appears that a good majority of viewers are not subscribed to this channel. If you enjoy this content and want to see more of it, then click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon to get notified anytime I put a new video out. I also have a Twitch channel, link in the description, where I stream every Saturday and Sunday around 6 a.m. EST. So if you want to watch me play games live, join the chat and possibly join me in multiplayer. Click the link and hit the follow button on my page. Thank you in advance. Now, let's continue. My primary concern with the Forgotten Kingdom is the length.
That's what she said.
The DLC only brings 3 story bosses to the table, and a handful of randomized corrupted mini-bosses. I ended up encountering most of these enemies on my first playthrough of the one-shot adventure, taking me about 8 hours. If it wasn't for a number of needless deaths and my slow walking, I probably would have beaten the DLC in 6 hours. The Awakened King DLC, by comparison, took me 2 full playthroughs, 11 hours to get almost everything. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but the short length just felt odd for a world with as much depth and intrigue as Yeisha. My other complaint about this DLC is its distinct lack of enemy variety. The primary enemies you'll encounter in the Forgotten Kingdom are these: walking jar constructs and flying knight statues. The walking jars are long-range attackers spewing orbs of energy or a stream of crossbow bolts to harass players and suppress them, while the knights float in to attack at close range. The jars have two variants, and to my knowledge, no elite versions, one of which is blue and the other orange. They're both challenging to work around and require you to memorize their firing patterns, or be tanky as hell. But they're not all that tough. The knights are highly mobile and fast, as well as possessing an ability to travel under the ground to evade attacks, before jumping back out for a big slam attack. There are two variants of the knights as well: sword knights that prefer to be aggro with wide sweeping attacks, and shield knights that utilize what appears to be a magic gauntlet to reduce damage to their main body. The shield knights use this shield to move in close, before executing a telegraphed but powerful slam attack with a moderate AoE. The shielded arm is also its weak spot, however, and upon breaking it, the shield knights will be stunned. The knights also have an elite variant, a blackened and burned-looking stone knight that resembles the sword knights, but with considerably more health, and it moves somewhat faster and more aggressively. Focused fire and concentration works just fine on these guys, but may require a few extra dodge rolls, depending on your damage output. Two other unique enemies exist in the DLC as well. Both are elites, though only one of them has a smaller variant. The first is this flying creature. Somewhat reminiscent of a mix between a bird of prey and a cricket, it utilizes a mix of flying ranged attacks and slam attacks, with an AoE that can be difficult to dodge. The real danger of this foe, however, is its ability to stunlock players who are too close with a piercing howl, allowing other enemies in the area to zerg the player and overwhelm them. The other unique enemy is this flower serpent thing. It has very few normal attacks, and prefers to either summon smaller variants of itself. Seen here, they appear to be blue palette swaps of the root snakes in the base game, or to use its special attack, which summons a storm of small flowers that float into the sky and then begin shooting lightning below them. Somehow. And that's pretty much it for the unique enemies. The rest of the DLC recycles enemies from base Asia, such as the root enemies and Pan warriors as mini-bosses. Given the size of the DLC and restricted map size, it's not terrible, but ultimately just slightly disappointing. The new gear pool added with the Forgotten Kingdom DLC is interesting, though tilted more heavily towards accessories such as amulets and rings. The total number of new offerings is 7 new weapons, 2 new armor sets, and 5 new helmets, along with 7 new mods, 8 new mutators, 12 new amulets, and a staggering 24 rings. In my own experience with the DLC, I've thus far only acquired 2 out of the 7 new weapons, and only 1 of the new armor sets, though I did manage to pick up an absurd number of new mutators and accessories. It's more than enough loot to encourage replayability, and some of the new effects are very much game changers in the base game. Now, this isn't meant to be a spoiler review, but I would be remiss in my duties if I didn't talk about the bosses. As I mentioned before, there are only 3 new story bosses added with the Forgotten Kingdom DLC. Each boss provides its own challenges and unique panache, and in an overall sense, they work. I have a personal gripe about the fact that 2 of them are not quite as unique as I was hoping for. And for anyone that has already beaten the DLC, you'll know what I mean. Speaking of which, my favorite boss in the DLC isn't even the final boss, and that particular fight gave me major Dark Souls vibes, with a mix of, oddly enough, Devil May Cry, and the whole experience was honestly incredible. But all 3 bosses are more than well balanced for what they are, and I found myself enjoying the experience even when dying, because of the spectacle of the fights, never mind the mechanical aspects. As far as rewards go, only one of the bosses has an alternate reward, and the rewards for the other two story bosses are okay. But personally, I found myself wanting more. To sum it all up, the Forgotten Kingdom DLC for Remnant 2 is a short but rewarding and memorable experience. I would not go so far as to say it does Yeisha's overall design concept, and especially its story, a great justice. But what it does contribute fills in at least some of the more obscure blanks while providing a mechanically satisfying challenge, combined with Yeisha's visual appeal. Is it worth $10? Absolutely. It's just a bit shorter than you may be expecting, and may not touch all of the story notes that you're hoping for. Well, that's going to be it for this review. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you'd like to show more support, as before, I will have my Twitter and Twitch linked down below in the description. And if you'd like to give me a follow over there, you guys can stay up to date on everything that I'm doing and watch me play live. And for all you newcomers, I would greatly appreciate it if you could hit that subscribe button and that bell notification icon so that you can get notified whenever I put out new content here on YouTube. Thank you guys so much for watching, and this has been Comet Smasher telling you to shoot for the stars.
Ooh. Haha, you missed. Son of a bitch!